It's been a few weeks. Hopefully, I've got everything set up right. Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we continued working on Festival Buddy 2, leading up to a release that supports multiple quick guides for a festival, which was really important for Midsummer, because now we have two entirely distinct areas, Minas Tirith and Further Home. I wanted to say Winter Home, but I knew that wasn't right. Now, for some people, they're going to want to actually do a couple of quests in Minas Tirith and then bip over to Further Home. I know at least one person was suggesting doing the stables in Minas Tirith before going over to Further Home, and I think that's very reasonable. And I think, especially if there's a community consensus about, oh, which things can we pick and choose to really make sense here, we could definitely have like a third quick guide. Right now, for Festival Buddy 2, there's a built-in limitation of 3 quick guides per festival because I was just putting buttons across and I could fit 3 buttons. But one could imagine a drop-down box or something a little bit more robust for a solution. I just didn't want to worry about a combo box because that's not a built-in UI element available to plugins. So you have to either roll your own or use one of the libraries that are available. And the problem with using a library is learning how the library works. Now, Festival Buddy 2 already has combo boxes in it, but you still have to learn how have they implemented the combo box in whatever system it's using, and I wasn't prepared for that. So it's just easier to do buttons 1, 2, and 3, up to 3, depending on how many this festival has. And since there's only one festival that has more than one right now, that seemed fine. Anyway, that was last time, but we're done with Festival Buddy for a while. I don't think we're gonna have a festival for at least a couple of days. So, actually, where are we? LOTRO calendar.
Yeah, we were just talking about that in my stream.
Yeah. Little Redhead was saying it, but I was too distracted setting up for my stream, and I didn't actually listen.
Middle of August.
Middle of August. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pull this up, and we are currently in the Ill Omens event. Excellent. Skirmish Marks, Hobnenigans, Hardtack, and Farmer's Fair, and that is 2 and a couple of days, 2 weeks and a couple of days. Excellent. Now, I do appreciate they give you plenty of time in the Ill Omens event to do things. Like, even if you don't have access to Southern Mirkwood, I think there's enough days in there where you could do all 10. Now, are there enough days if you only have access to Eriador? Let's check. So, 23rd, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days in July. And then another 11 days, so 20 days. So yes, even if you only have access to Eriador, you're going to be able to do 10 of those 20 days, which means you could complete the wrapper. I think that's pretty generous. It would be nice if it was a little bit more than 20 days, just in case you miss one, but that's okay. Okay, neat. So, yeah, today we're going to be returning to Deed Tracker. We've got a few last automation fixes before we can do a release that includes support for, there's a fan-made Spanish translation of LOTRO, so I hear, and love to support community engagement like that. So we're gonna look and see what's missing in that and see what we can do about that. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and move some windows around on my screen. Not that one, though. Caval in chat says, hello! Hello! Welcome. Okay, on screen here, we do have Deed Tracker. Little Redhead was just showing this off. Hopefully you had a chance to see her talking about it. But this is a plugin for tracking deeds. So naming things is hard, so I called it Deed Tracker. Okay, so I am just noticing that Deed Tracker thinks the maximum level cap for a standard server is 150. I'm going to go do something about that. 150. There we go. Default server level cap. Standard server correct as of 07. Today must be 28. Cool. What's the current legendary server cap? I don't know, but while I'm doing this, I should go ahead and fix that. Legendary servers. Alright. Mordor and Angmar are currently at 105. And that happened in June. So I'm going to assume it's going to be that way for a little while. Mordor and Angmar, correct as of... Oops. Cool. So we'll at least get that into the next release as well. And DTracker has a thing where if that default is higher than what is set in your system, it'll go ahead and update that. Now, we could be a little smarter about it. If you have a character whose level is higher than the supposed height, you could jump into the next one. I don't know. Oh, hey, legendary server caps. Why legendary server caps? Where am I using that? Oh, okay. Neat. This character is higher than the legendary server cap, so adjust it to the next tone. Oh, great. Love it. So that's probably already getting caught by any character who's that level. But nice to see. Now, funny thing is we should probably have the 160 here. When did that come out? For something like that, I'll tend to go to the expansions page on the wiki as inspiration. That's not the wiki. I'm not trying to buy it. I'm just trying to go look at this. All right, Kingdoms of Harad. All right, great. Okay, perfect. Yeah, okay. Telerian thinks about a month or 6 weeks in early September they'll get a level bump on Angmar and Mortar. If I haven't done a release on D-Tracker by then, kick me because I should have. So we'll just gradually fall behind. But I'm glad to see that Past Me put together this system of at least automatically bumping up because the standard server are I didn't even call it standard server, just the server cap for non-legendaries moves at a slower pace. And so I can do that release once a year and it's going to be enough. And people can update this manually. It's, I think, the first option in options. Nope, I moved it. It's near the top of the options. And so we can see if it's a legendary server. And I really probably should hide that if I don't say it's a legendary server. But that's okay. Anyway, moving on. So what's going on? What's going on? Let's go ahead and commit those changes so we have a pretty clean working directory. So updated level cap information. And that's going to be this. It's going to be this. This is a debug thing, and we're just going to not include that. So we're going to go ahead and commit that, push it out. Great. So we have a clean working directory that we can easily revert changes to if we need. So I have a file that's being automatically generated by data files and by some other stuff called, oh, what is it? Dun, 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 dun. Deed info strings. And it has things like what are the names of the classes? What are the names of the races? What are the names of deed categories? And this is what we're going to be working on today because this is wrong and needs to be fixed. Also, where is that defined? Whoa, I did not mean to go to source control. I meant to go here. Okay, it was defined everywhere. I don't like that. I think I don't like that. Feed info string. So, where could it be? Deed lookup tables, deed items. Could be in here. I would accept that. But I think it's going to be more complicated to change that. I'll just make a note to myself in the hub of the Git. So we're going to come in here into issues and just keep track of things that we are working on and things that we need to do. So new issue. Gotta sign in, otherwise it thinks I'm a stranger. Great. Back to issues. It booted me back to the default. We're going to make a new issue. And that new issue is... Nope. Deed type category is defined in each deed info strings lang.lua file. Move it somewhere better. Maybe deed lookup tables.lua question mark. Oh, I shouldn't assign myself actually. That implies I'm going to be working it. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and create that. Now we don't have to remember it, which is good because I wasn't going to. And instead, we can keep going. Okay, so this deed types thing. This is, first of all, not localized. We can see the French and the German aren't using in-game terms like we want them to. And it also doesn't match the in-game list. This was a list that I put together when I was very early on, just pulling deeds from the LOTRO wiki and like mentally categorizing these things. And I wonder if I still have my notes here. I think I don't. Let's take a look at what categories are actually used. So I'm going to go ahead and pull open my text editor of choice. This is Sublime Text, is what I want to use. And we're going to go ahead and pull open deeds. Okay, so this is using LOTRO Companion's data dumps. And we're going to go ahead and say, I just want the first line here, the deed ID equals. We're going to pull that into its own file here. Well, not even file, but working space. And then for each of these, we just want the type. So we're going to select all the types and get rid of that first part. And then any text editor worth its salt should be able to go ahead and do things like sort lines, should be able to permute to unique lines. Obviously, if you don't have a text editor that does that, you can do something like Excel. A spreadsheet can do that too. It's just, it's nice to be able to do that all within your text editor. So these are the seven types of deeds that are in use in game: class, event, explorer, lore, race, reputation, and slayer. And we can kind of divide that out mentally, because class, race, epic, and reputation are all going to be over on the class, race, epic. So we have the class, we have race and social, we have epic and reputation. Event, explorer, lore, and slayer, you find those all in. Let's go ahead and check our Ravanian. The dwarf holds. So we can see up here in this dropdown, we have Explorer, Lore, Reputation, and Slayer. Explorer, Lore, Reputation does show up there. Okay. Reputation will also show up in Reputation. And then Event. Event will also show up under Class, Race, Epic, Race, and Social. So if I come over here to Reputation, we can see these have that little star thing. That is a good symbol for reputation. If we come on over here, we can see Explorer is the telescope. We can see that little star thing is lore. Maybe more like a seal. Cross swords are Slayer. And then reputation is the star. And I guess it can show up there? Yeah, reputation, none. Okay. None. But in theory, it's in the filter by. Artillery says, oh, I noticed a small glitch in deed tracker version 324. That's what we're working on. We'll send you a picture if you want. I'd love that. Pictures are worth many words, sometimes 1,000. Thank you. Okay. So, where were we? Yes, so those are the types of deeds. And when I was putting this together, I didn't have access to this data, and so I was kind of making it up as I go. So the ones I did were meta, which was like a wrapper, so not a Slayer deed, but the all Slayers of Breland. I was like, oh, that's a meta deed. That's not a Slayer deed, but internally it's a Slayer deed. Explorer, Slayer, quest. There's no quest deeds, or uh, epic. None of them are epic. They're all something else. No social, although it's useful to be able to mark things as social, and so on. And then there's a sort of a fake category that we use to mark out categories in the structure here. So Grey Mountains Expedition, we just have a thing that is a list of either deeds or categories, and they are marked as categories by having that type. Okay, so that's what we're going to do is update this. And I was in the middle of that, and we can see this is the only place this is being used. So it's not in use right now, but we want to be able to use it because people want to be able to filter based off of these things. Delirium says sent via Discord. Awesome, although I did close Discord because I was streaming. So let me pop that up in just a sec. Right, Delirium, what do you got? Awesome, thank you very much, Delirium. That is very good. Let me go ahead and make a new issue. Okay, so we're going to fix a conflict issue in German. One should be a quest. So this is a problem with, because the names for German are going to be different than the names for English. I have incorrectly identified which things conflict with each other. Oh. Yeah, I need to do something about that. Maybe suppress the 140 Valar like things that we see there. Question mark? Yeah, Claire, thank you for reporting that. So one problem is there were introduced what seemed to be unlock deeds for these various skirmishes for 140 Valar that came in. And I don't really care about those things. We can see there it's marked as not actively achievable. It requires purchase. And no one can get it except if you use the Valor, if I'm correct where it comes from. And so no one's going to be having this unless they do have it. And if they do have it, it just means that they can go into this thing. And I don't want it to be used as in this part of figuring things out. Also, we can see that upper text hasn't been localized, and also that box isn't big enough. Also, the upper text isn't localized. Also, the upper box isn't tall enough for the text anyway. All right, so all of these things are going into this issue. Awesome, thank you, Delirian. What's missing is the corresponding quest that this is conflicting with, and I'll look into why that is not happening. Delirian says, now you're getting picky. Look, if you're gonna be in a thing fixing one issue and you see 3 other issues right there, now is the time. Strike while that metaphorical iron is metaphorically hot. Okay, neat. But thank you for letting me know. Okay, so we want to take advantage of actual categories that are in the game, and we want to go ahead and only list those plus the D-type category for right now. And then we want to use translations where they are available. Now, I see translations in French. Yes, okay. So in the French labels, I saw that, but if I go into German labels, enum D type, and maybe Delirian, you know this, in game, when you go to one of these filter boxes, are these localized to German, or do you also see Explorer, Lore, Reputation, and Slayer? Because if you see German, which I would have expected, then that means what I'm getting from LOTRO Companion is not correct here. And that can always be. Because I would have expected it to be. But, so what we want to do is demonstrate what the problem is. So I have this preprocessor that I'm going to go ahead and run, and it is going to regenerate these files, but it's not going to do so correctly. And we're gonna get started from there as we're working today. Oh, that's kind of hidden behind my head. So loads a bunch of different files, munges them together, and then see, we're doing the check for deeds and quests with the same name, so we're missing something there for the German. Okay, so what that did was it regenerated a bunch of things. For the deed data, it is replacing that type that we had before, type equals 8, with, in this case, type equals 100. Why is it doing that? Because oops. Because type equals 8, that was class, and now it is type 100, which is class. Okay. Telerian is seeing translations there. Instecker for Explorer, Kunde for Lore, Ruf for Reputation, and Bezwinger for Slayer. Awesome. No. That's perfect, Telerian. That means you are seeing translations in game, and I'm not seeing them under the LOTRO Companion data files. So just making that was much easier than me firing up a German client. Thank you very much. Okay, so the problem is these are not localized. These should be what the user will see, and these need to be the French, the German, the or even the Russian terms. So what we want to do is, oops, take what we just got, which was this and this, and we need to go ahead and use the name here to delve into the enum to get the actual display value. So that's our next to do. So first thing is, what's going on with this? Let's not worry about that. Okay, so we are producing this deed types, and we're just doing some basic string manipulation here to do that. Let's go ahead and minimize and minimize. Great. Yeah, that's all fine. Okay, so this type here is the problem. We need it to be better. And so deed types, where is that coming from? We have a get deed types function. Great. Get deed types is getting each of those. Okay. Well, that's the question is, are we doing this for a language? For each lang in strings. Okay, so what we want to do is instead of returning that number that we saw here, I'm sorry, we have class equals 100. We do want the 100, we don't want class, or whether we want, what do we need? We just need 100 to the other. Let's take a look at this. So, get details. Should really have this is just grabbing all of the IDs that are actually in use. Okay. We go through every deed, just like we were doing earlier on stream. And that way, if they stop using something or if they change it, we're going to adapt automatically. Now that we have deed types, okay. Okay, here it is. Deed type to code. That's not what we want. We want let's interrogate the program state here. And while we do that, while we launch that, Tellurian says yes, that file lists them in English, though it should be German. LOTRO companions on vacation, of course. They are French, and it is July, so that's completely reasonable. But it will be useful for me. Right now, I'm just going to program as if that file was correct. I might even take your values in. Nope, wrong one. German. Okay, so and Decker for Explorer, Kunde for lore, Ruth for reputation, Zwinger for Slayer, and then Tellurian, if you do have, and I'll type them in here for Tellurian. If you do have for class, event, or race, toss them into chat there. I'll go ahead and incorporate them here, and then we'll just have that to work with. Okay. So we're here in here. So we have our deed types. We have 7 of them. This is just a list of those 7 that are in use in the deeds file. This is just the all caps reference. Great. We also have deed typed code, and this is a lookup between that and the number. We need the number, but we also need a lookup between the number and this language. And for that, we're doing that in lang, but we don't actually need to do that more than once, although that's just a static function that returns the same thing. So let's go ahead and hoist that out. What we do need to do in the language is to convert that. So we need a deed code to a localized string, something like that. Deed type to localized string. And localized strings. And we're going to pass in our lang for that. And we just want this helper function to take care of this. It doesn't exist. Oops. Go ahead and make it, please. So we're going to go ahead and come in here. this is going to be a dictionary of string to string that we're going to get. And we're going to go ahead and make our lookup. So this is going to be var results equals new and return results, just so our IntelliSense stops saying, you're not returning anything from the function. And then we're going to go ahead and use the lang to open up a file. It's going to look very similar to this kind of a logic here, where we don't actually want to. Delarian will send me screenshots. Awesome, thank you so much. We don't actually care about parsing the XML. This is very regular XML. If it changes, our schema is going to break anyway. So we're just doing a regular expression against the lines that we care about up here, and that's exactly what we're going to do down here. So the path is going to be something like this, but it's not. It is, let's go ahead, oops, and grab this. Now this is of course very hard coded to my computer, but that's okay because it's running on my computer. But just be aware, this is not good coding practice for something that is going to be shipped. This is very good for an internal tool. Even for an internal tool, eventually, if you're working for a company where something like this exists, it starts off running on Bob's computer. And so it's all hard coded to Bob's user account and Bob's computer. And eventually it starts getting more genericized because it needs to run on Frank's computer also because Bob's on vacation and so on. So these things start looking like this and end up the time is spent to make them a little bit more professional where they can run on whatever machine. Like you'll just have an environment variable that tells you where the LOTRO data is, and then you'll do everything from there. But until you need that, this is stupid easy to search for, to fix, right? So there's 73 matches, and I just cannot deal with that right now. So we need LOTRO data, lore, we're going to begin labels, and that's going to be lang. And enum type.xml. Okay. So we need to make sure that is correct as well. Great. So that's our path that we're going to be loading. And we can go ahead and just slurp it all in. This is a very small file. We don't have to worry about memory issues if we're just going to consume the whole thing. Even on large files, again, this is an internal tool. I'm not too worried about consuming hundreds of megabytes just to slurp in a file and process it. Once you start shipping something, you'll want to start being more intelligent, I guess, more cautious about what you load in. Maybe only load in a few files, lines at a time. You don't just pull it all into memory. Like you iterate through it better. And that's a kinder thing to do in environments where you don't have all the memory in the world. Anyway, we're going to pull in something that looks like this. So let's go ahead and pull an example line of what we're trying to match. And then there's our results, that's fine. Let's go ahead and make some regexes. So we know this is going to start with label. We know that that's going to be key. We know that that's actually going to be a ooh, I bet that dot is going to be a problem. And I just can't be bothered to write a bracket. Oh, fine. Okay, we'll do it. Okay. So I don't actually care what's in there. I just need it. Oh, but we're going to need able to match that against. Right. Okay, one thing at a time. But this, when it's pulling this in, we need to actually return name. So nuts. It might be better to, instead of having two different functions, this one function goes ahead and goes through all the potential languages. Do we have access to lang? We could have access to lang. Right? Lang.strings Populate the localized text for each var lang and lang.strings. Do we have access to that? Apparently. I'm not sure where that is, but does it build? I mean, this thing's not ready. All right, well, it builds, so that's it seems to be able to find that. Great. So what we probably want to do is let's do that. But that means we're gonna have a lot of file name collisions here. So enum path, excuse me, and that's gonna be enum lines. Great. This is going to be the enum regex pattern and enum regex. And finally, we're not returning the results. We are, in fact, we need a new class to hold all this information. So public class feed type info. And what we need is a combination of these things. So we'll pull it up here for a minute. So we need a code, so int code. We need, yeah, I'm not really concerned about object-oriented programming here. I just need a place to stick this. A struct would be fine, in fact. Something like that. But who knows? Maybe I'll throw some functions in here later. Okay, we need public string name. And, oh, we also need a key. Uh, 100 class the type class, and then we need strings is a list of strings. So public list, sorry, dictionary of string to string translations. And what that's going to be is class equals, no, that's not going to work. En equals class. And then French equals classe. Great. Something like that. Yes. So this is going to have some redundancy because, of course, the lookup entry for the dictionary of string to this thing now is probably also going to be the key, and that's fine. Is it? Does that make sense? It does, because we're getting a list of these out of the deeds file for what's in use, so that's fine. Man, that sun has come out from behind the clouds just in time. Okay, so we need to fix this. So this is actually going to be a new that. And then so we need code equals code, key equals key, and translations equals new that. And then we'll populate the translations. Oh, we also want the name. Name equals, because we didn't capture that because I didn't think it was important and I was wrong. Okay, so we have code equals that, key equals that, name equals double quote. We need Something like that. Yeah, okay. Now, if I've constructed this correctly, then that should be a character class of either word characters or a period. Assuming periods aren't part of words, I think they are not. You know what? C# character classes regex /w. One or more word characters. Great. All right. Lowercase, uppercase, total case, other, modifier, decimal digit. Okay, so in ASCII, lowercase, capital, underscore, so 9, it does not include that. Great. All right. So we are doing a character, a combination here of anything that's a word character or a period. I think we're gonna see because regexes are not my fort. Okay, but we're gonna go ahead and capture that, which means we're expecting an extra group. Great. And var name equals type match groups 3 dot value. I don't need to assign it to something like that, but you do have the nice parity here of code equals code, key equals key, name equals name. So by assigning groups 3 dot value a name first, I can use it more intelligently than if it was just name equals 3, in which case it's like, does it? Like, maybe, but why? Nicer even still if we had an enumeration somewhere where that was defined as name. So, you know, name position, something like that, where suddenly name equals groups name position is a little easier to read later on. But we've got our example here of what it should be, and that's fine. Okay, so I expect we could also interrogate. Oh, we'd need to capture. No, that's fine. Yeah, we could capture these things, split them apart, blah, blah, blah. Not going to bother. So, translations. For each of these files, we're going to open up that lang, we're going to read all the lines, and then we're going to start matching on that. So we have key there, and then we have value equals that. And we need to do basically the same thing, which is, sure. So for each of the lines, is that going to be a problem? Yeah, that's fine. We are expecting 3 matches, so if we don't, we'll just not worry about that line. And again, in more robust software, we might actually tell someone about it, but it's fine. Also, we could double check in such a small line file. I don't even think it matters, but we could say if line dot starts with label. We can do that. I have been doing that just because when you're processing a bunch of deeds, maybe you don't want to do regex against everyone. But again, it's 8 lines in here, so I think this actually saves us nothing. But I'm doing it. I will, however, cause a bug if I don't spell label correctly. Okay. So we have our groups, and so now we can say var key equals that, var value equals that. Okay. So we know that D type code of key dot translations of lang equals value. And maybe that's fine. All right, so we do need to, nope. We do need to update the return value of the function that we're calling to get that. Great. And kill this thing. So now we should have everything in one place. We might not, but we should. And that's what we're going to check out now. So why do we have two of these? Okay, so this right here, I want to see what happens when we get it. And then we do not need that. Cool. There were build errors. Well, all right, let's take a look at those. Oh, right, of course. Oh, yes, okay. Code. Cool. Okay. Let's go ahead and launch this so we can interrogate the state of the thing. My goodness. Sometimes of year, that sun will just get to the right spot, and it's going to go down over the horizon soon.
Yeah, like
So I can't be bothered to do anything about it. Maybe Little Redhead's going to. Okay, so we have an error. Type initializer through an exception. Could not find a part of that path. Oh, I didn't make an interpreted string out of it. Hilarious.
scared.
It's all good. She was doing a noble effort of holding a curtain in place that didn't want to
No,
be.
it's my hands.
Oh, just hands. That's okay. It turns out if I lean back, it's not a problem.
Oh, yeah. It'll be gone in 5 minutes.
Yeah, in a few minutes. All right, so let's come on through. Great, different thing. DDAT class was not present in the dictionary. Great, let's dig in here. All right, we actually need to come into the static initializer if we can. Let's go ahead and try that. Okay, let's come on into the static initializer. Great, we can do that. And everything else was fine, we think. So let's come on in here. So we have the enum path. That looks correct now. Let's go ahead and get the lines. That's great. Oh, I see the problem. Key here is not key here. And that's annoying. But it's not the end of the world because we can just build a temporary lookup class, which will help us. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. Clearance says, could you show me the deed log on an English client? Sure. So this was an example of a landscape one that has Explorer, Lore, Reputation, and Slayer. If we come on into Classroom's Epic, do we... there's a lore there. Yeah, I don't actually know if those are exposed in game. What about completed? That's so funny. So the types are in use, but somehow they're not exposed in the filter by. So bonkers. What about hobbies? Lore. I don't understand why sometimes it says all and sometimes it says all and the only thing there is there. Like, these are all lore. So what? I don't understand that. Yeah, Tellurian, I agree. There's no visual use of class, race, and event, except those are obviously things, right? Um, like if we come into race and social, all right, let's find a deed that actually is event. All right, so Festival Fortunes. Look at the races. Rotten Fruit. Have I done any of these? Maybe. What's coming in? Frostbluff. Frostbluff Flower Petals. Great. These are type equals event. And we can see that no, they're listed as lore. So in game, that some of these are coalesced into these other things. So class, race, and event, so it looks like they're all coalesced. So totally fine, no problem. I'm sure internally, at least the big four here are localized. But it does raise the question of what deed tracker should do about that. Because what's the point of sorting for just event if in game those are lore? I mean, I guess we can provide a slightly more fine-grained search. Well, thanks for looking. Okay, get rid of that. So we need to look up dot dot notation to all caps lookup. Close new dictionary, string to string. Great. Therian thinks the icons are no indication. Stomping the shrew deed icon is different from killing harbingers. Okay. What is the... Which one is the stomping of the shrews? Let's see. Hide completed deeds. Off. Alright, so that is spring, I believe? Nope. Oh, that's funny. Okay, Taming of the Shrews? Shrewd Gardener. Okay. Shrewd Gardener is an event, and you said killing harbingers is... Well, is this a Slayer deed? Because you're stomping them. Are you actually, like, slaying them? Alright, where's Illumins? Okay, it's after Yule. I can see that. What's the deed for killing harbingers? And why is it not under ill omens? Banisher of ill omens, great. Clearance says roving threats. But now I'm curious where Banisher of ill omens is. It's in category 32. And category 32 is skirmish instances. Of course it is. Okay, so Banisher of ill omens is listed as a Slayer deed. Fair enough. And you were mentioning roving threats. Okay. I appreciate that if we are stomping the shrews, we're probably slaying them. But yeah, I guess it's less about what are you doing in the deed and more where does the deed come from. Like this comes from an event, so it's overridden with event. Now, ideally, so almost certainly internally LOTRO has one type that a deed can be. In a more modern view, you might say that a deed could have multiple types. A deed could be an event deed and a Slayer deed and should show up under both of those searches. Dillian says, I just wanted to stress that the icon does not indicate which category it's sorted in. I guess that's a good question. I didn't actually look. Harbinger. Well, no, Banisher of Ilman did say Slayer, and that's the icon it gets, so I'll need to look at the roving threat. Is there a Slayer deed for it? Alright, roving threat Slayer, great. Roving threat Slayer is given as type Slayer, okay. And in here, oh, I haven't done any of them yet. That's fun. Roving threat is also listed as a Slayer here. So I guess I'm confused about your saying, Tillarian, because I am seeing a type of Slayer, and that matches the icon. And in Skirmishes, Banisher of Ill Omens was also a Slayer deed, I believe. Banisher of Ill Omens. Yeah, that was also a Slayer. So, and more to the point, I don't know where else the game would be queued into which icon to use except for the type of the deed given in the data. Because the category doesn't work, and that's the only other thing. Now, there's always potential that there's data that LOTRO Companion has not included in these, in these data dumps, but barring something like that, it would have to be queued off of the type in order to make sense in my head. So I guess I'm not seeing an example where in the data files it says Slayer, but the icon isn't a Slayer, or vice versa. But if you have one of those, that would be fascinating to see. Okay, neat. So we are just going to do a dot notation all caps lookup, and that's going to be, we need the name. So we're going to say dot notation all caps lookup of name equals code. No, key. And that's that. So we can then use this so this, we call it key, but it's really dot notation, and that's going to be translation. We're going to say var all caps equals dot notation all caps dot notation, and then all caps equals translation, and that should be fine. Oh, Fabian is saying that the Shrew Stomper icon is different. All right, I missed that. That's coming back. All right, Shrew Stomper. Oh, now I've lost it. Ah, okay. The Shrewd Gardener. Great. All right. Shrewd Gardener shows as event here. And the Shrewd Gardener is not showing as a Slayer here. Oh. Okay. So filtering does show it coming up as a Slayer. Fascinating. All right, excellent. Great example. Thank you. So I was looking on the icon matching here, which it does do, but that's a very good point. So LOTRO Companion is perhaps the victim of a single type. Maybe some deeds can have multiple types. Let me go ahead and type that up. Why? The Shrewd Gardener, which is ID this, has type equals event, but shows up when filter equals Slayer is selected. Do deeds have more? Can deeds have more than one type internally? Question mark. Okay, so here's the thing. I would be perfectly happy if it showed up under both, if it was a lore and if it was a Slayer, because that makes sense to me. And that feels like it should do anyway, because it has the lore or the event icon, and it's also marked event in LOTRO Companion's export. So I'd be very happy for it to be both. This is interesting confusion clearing, and I'm gonna poke LOTRO Companion to see if I can understand better. But cool, thank you. Great example. I just was misunderstanding what you were saying originally. That being said, at least the icon matches the value in the file. So yay for that. Okay. Let us see if our code change worked. Hello, Mr. Casper. All right, so first of all, let's just see if we can get past that. And great. So first thing, I forgot to check. Nuts. Okay. Need to check what is in this. So dot notation, we have nothing. But why? Of course. We're no longer processing the files correctly because I didn't re-add the capture group. It's a regex problem. It's always a regex problem. And if it's not, it's a Lua pattern problem. Okay, let's try that again. So, we have nothing. We do have a thing. Great, let's keep going. We have our 7 entries. Great, let's keep going. We have class. So now we have class, which means we can properly add that. We keep going. Great. And that means we have our theoretically 4 translations for that. Great. We have the German Entdecker there. Explorateur for French. English and Russian are the same. Great. Okay. Now we can actually use it in this place. And so what we want to do is take a look at what is there. We have the code here. That's fine. And we need to go ahead and say type. No, we need this lookup table. Oh, it's no longer d-type to code, is it? D-type info. So d-type info. That can't be right. It can be. Okay, I was misusing it. Type info. So we're going to come on down here and we're going to say var info equals dtype info of type. And that's going to be one of these structures. Great. Where did type come from? Oh, okay. So from here, we have the info.code equals info dot translations of lang. Let's give that a shot. Only downside with a program that has such a large upfront loading time because all the files that it's loading is that when you want to make a tiny change, you are setting yourself up for a bit of a wait. And these kinds of waits tend to get longer and longer over time as you start doing more and more processing. All right, let's just go ahead and let it run. Okay, so it's all done. Let's take a look at what we have. So in the German, we have, well, simple enough that we can do it in here. In the German, we have 100 to 101. Oh, those are not in order. Ooh, I don't like that. It is unnecessary for them to be in order, and yet. Let's come take a look at where that is happening, which is over in programs. Oh, yeah, right here. D-types, great. So we're getting a number of lines. Let's go ahead and make a var d types lines equals new list of string. And we'll go ahead and add to that instead. And then lines dot add d types lines dot sort. No, that's void. We gotta do that in place. Really feels like there should be a version of that that returns, and there may be. Okay. Cool. So we're gonna take those. We're gonna sort them, which is going to naively, because these are all have the same number of digits. A naive sort will be correct for our purposes. And let's see that in action. So that's going to sort them numerically, which is what we want for this table. This table can no longer be iterated through from 1 to n with an I pairs, but that's okay because we weren't doing that anyway. What we're instead going to do is, almost certainly, when we start using it, is to use a deeds info to look up into this table, or something similar. The UI will let you choose Slayer, and it'll give you that number, and that number will be able to filter on deeds, stuff like that. All right, let's come back in here and take a look, though. We have, yay, 100, 101, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, class race, event, explorer, lore, reputation, Slayer. And if we're coming into the French, we can see those are reasonably Frenchy. And if we're coming into the German, we can see the ones that we got from Telerian are showing up. Not, we don't have all of them, but we do have enough to verify that stuff is happening. And then, of course, in the English and the Russian, we just have defaults here. So we're going to be killing a bunch of things that aren't reflected in the data files. And so if one was doing all this by hand, like gathering all the information and manually thinking, oh, what category do I think best reflects this? These might be useful, but it's just in a world where this is automatically pulled from data files, these were not useful. And I never actually ended up using them because we didn't have filtering based on them yet. So the other big change is that we're using these in the generation of the D data file. So this is going to be a massive a massive diff where every line is different because we're going to go from our made up number of 8 to the game data files value of 100. Now, would it be crazy? I feel like it might make sense to ask, do we need the numbers at all? Because this could be, I guess, the benefit of numbers is this is a massive file already. And if you spell out reputation every time you had a reputation deed, it would inflate the size of the file by, a few tens of thousands of characters. But right now we have 100, which takes us to here, which gives us that. But what we are bypassing is that key here where you just have an all uppercase thing. Excuse me. Okay, so what would that look like? Let's come take a look at deeds. No, these deeds and find type equals. Oh. Okay, so we want a type equals 105, I think it was. 105 is reputation. How many of those do we actually have? I was half joking about that being a concern, but okay. 1,125. So that's 105 to reputation. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, 8 kilobytes shouldn't really matter in the context of this, because it's already way bigger than that. All right. That would be an increase of 0.5%. Just on the reputation entries, though. And the rest of these are all longer too. Yeah, I don't know. I'll think about that. Doesn't really matter. We can fix it. Tellurian says, no Spanish? Not yet. I needed to get everything automatically produced that could be automatically produced, and then we can just add the flag that says go Spanish. Okay. Then I guess I'm happy with this. We're moving from 1 digit to 3, or 1 character to 3 characters. We're doing it consistently, and that'll be good enough for now. We can always come back and change that later. So let's go ahead and updated deed type to use in-game values instead of made up ones. So that is those 4, and then it is also this. And then manually, we go ahead and add in D-type category after that. Of course, it's manually set to 14. Again, that's arbitrary. It doesn't matter, I think. Well, I bet it does matter. Oh. I bet it doesn't matter. Hang on. Oh, okay. If it's category, then we go ahead and override its type as that. That seems redundant. I don't think that's actually necessary. But you tell you what, that's a problem for future me. Is it even useful to have this? Or could is category just look at cat ID question mark? Yeah. Problem for later. Okay, great. But for now, it's fine. So we're replacing the things that we need to replace for each of those. Awesome. We'll push that out. So we have a clean working directory. Awesome. So what would it look like to do Spanish? What a great question. Where is lang.strings declared? Bum, bum, bum. It's not there. dtracker.lang. Sure, I would love to know where that is. Oh. Oh, that's frustrating. It's that thing I hit at the very beginning of the stream. Great. So we currently have Spanish hidden. Let's go ahead and unhide that, unhide that, unhide that, and unhide that, or uncomment. Okay, let's give that a try. Tellurian was gasping at no Spanish files being produced. Let's see what breaks when we try to produce them. Yeah, Tellurian says, well, just kidding. I know there's a project to translate it, and LC is implementing into his data files. That's where I am getting it from. Absolutely. Okay. We have an exception. Well, it's not surprising. Oh, could not find the file for ES enum deed type. Yeah, that's fair. Why not, though? Let's come on in. So this is in lore, labels, ES, enum. Really? Fascinating. Yeah, that's not there. Okay. Then we are going to need to go ahead and fall back to English if it's not there. So, enumpath. If file dot exists of enumpath, and of course when we say that, we mean if not file exists, then we're going to go ahead and hard code that to English because I cannot worry about that. Okay, let's try it again. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's not the only problem in this. But, you know, stop for stop. One thing at a time. Altero asks, was it really that easy? You were thinking the same thing. Well, ideally, what I have done is created a system that will pull from LOTRO Companion's data files and use that to automatically create the things I need for DTracker to work with it. We shall see. After all, we're running right now. Oh, hey, we had an exception. Okay, great. Code not file deed info strings. Sure. All right, let's take a look at that. Deed info strings. I agree you couldn't find it. You're supposed to produce it. Oh. Great. Okay, this was a thing that I did recently since I was playing around with that. And what we need to do is if file dot exists of path, and I mean if it doesn't exist, then return true. This function, our auto-generated files have a timestamp at the top, which means every time we regenerate them, we get a new timestamp, which means it shows up as a difference in source control. And so this is just trying to figure out, are there differences besides that first line? And if not, don't overwrite that timestamp because it's just going to cause problems. But that did assume that the file existed to compare. So that was my bad. we should not assume that file exists. It might not. All right, new problem. Value cannot be null. Okay. But what were we trying to do? Oh, does it think we need to set that up first? Maybe. I mean, sure. Let's go ahead and set that up. So it says, I am very good at distracting before. Well, you know, that's fine. Okay. I mean, we can see that this got populated correctly, so I don't actually know what's going on. But for any Spanish speakers in the audience, we can see that the region, well, these are the tab names in the deed log, the in-game deed log. So we can see Lothor and Southern Mirkwood. These are getting correctly picked up. Awesome, love it. Love to see it. Class names are in there. Awesome. Vigilante. Oh, exciting. Which one is that? 194. Warden. All right. And the Minstrel, 31. Juglar. Okay, great. So that is getting generated. So where did we actually fall down here? Let's figure out which table we were looking for. Or if it was just like, now that it's generated, it's going to be fine. It did not. Okay, great. So it thinks this Lulu, okay, that exists. Great. Okay, what table? Deed log page names table. And that should be this. Let's take a look. So in here, that is on line 112. And on here, that is also on line 112. Okay, which file are we in and why? All right, so we're getting this. We're in Spanish, yeah, as expected. Indeed, info strings, great. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so we artificially make a language there. Yes, just because otherwise this check will cause a problem in Lua. Then we're doing that. So that is everything. So, okay, load data. So we do the string. Okay. Oh, yes. Wow. That was terrible. Where else am I using that? Yeah. So yes, because it was evaluating to English, then the rest of it wasn't getting executed and we failed. Okay, so I think it's going to be safe to assume that that kind of thing needs to be changed in more than one place. And this is why adding a language is non-trivial. Yep, forgot to change that. Okay, so Russian, Spanish, Russian, great. Oh, my goodness. Feels like we're going to need to do something about that. Is this still in use? It's probably in use. Oh man, I remember before a vacation or two, I was in the middle of fixing this. Right. So that would have been Uncle Lang. Nope. Var lang equals lang. Oh, can't do that. What if we just did load language lua lang dot to code and deeds. So that would get rid of that, which we've been wanting to do. Great. Same thing here. This should be better. All right, private read only. We're gonna just go off the rails here. This is gonna be a dictionary of string to deeds deed, and that's gonna be deed. Sure. Ideally, we're going to be passing things in through here. So you know what? Yeah, let's do that. Let's change this. Deeds, and then we can say deeds equals deeds. Kill the rest of that. Great. So getting the deed. If we have the lang, which is here, we're going to go ahead and use that to code. Are we though? Man, I would really like that code to be lowercase instead of uppercase in the near future. All right, there's 11 references to this. What's going on with that? Let's fix that. Modify DERUES. Okay. Okay, language equals that. Great. What's up with this? Okay. I think the only thing, the big thing there is that let's go ahead and make sure we match the case. Is it a problem that I'm doing this instead of having the preprocessor? Oh, yeah, it probably is. Okay. We're going to abort that. And instead, this thing needs to change. Because that's hopefully easier. So, double checking ourselves. Do we reference that? We do. And next. All right, we're going to replace that. Replace. Well, that's why we have source control, just in case those 19 were not correct to do. But on the assumption that they were, let's go ahead and do German. Replace all. Let's go ahead and do French. Replace all. 21, that's a little concerning. Russian. 20, great. And Spanish. Great. So, okay. Right. Okay. So I was including some of these LOTRO companion files. I don't need to do that. That's fine. So great. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we need to go ahead and return deeds lang to code. But of course, do we need to do that? Because that could just be a lang.lang enum, in which case we can just do that. Great. What else is a problem in this file? Well, this is a problem. So we're going to go ahead and do a dictionary. And that was going to be lang that and deeds deed, which is just a naming convention that comes from making a schema from XML. Bam. So we're going to do the same thing where we're just going to say, hey, don't pass us 4 different things because now that needs to be 5. Pass us 1 list of things. And we'll delete the rest. Okay. So here we're just going to go ahead and say return deeds of lang. That's not going to work. Underscore deeds. Great. And then here, we're just going to go ahead and pass deeds, and that will be right. But that means here is a problem. So lang.langenum, we want to take that instead because then we can just pass that. And that bounces us out to here where we have this. Okay, so what is this? Deeds. All right, so kick that problem 1 level up. But then, where's this being used? Find all references. We assign it. Here we iterate through it. Lang enum English. Great. Same basic idea. German. French. And Russian. But why are we doing this? We're looking for the first deed. We're producing the Lua objectives. Okay, so we have an English deed, and we're looking for German, French, or Russian, or whatnot that matches that. Boy, knowing what I know now, I would really like to restructure things, but not today. Because it really feels like if you have a deed ID, you can go ahead and pull in the various languages underneath that and have a simpler time of it. But at the time, I did not have that. Okay, so we have our English deed. We're iterating through each of those because that's kind of the likely to be most correct, given SSG is an American company. And then, okay, so we're constructing this, which means we need, but do we need to do that? Feels like we could iterate through each of the line enums. Let's do something else. So for each var lang in lang.lang enum, can we iterate through that? What's the right way to iterate through that? Been a while since I've had to do that. Okay, the internet suggests that it is something like this. If lang equals, and we're going to go for lang.lang enum.english. What is this? That's an object? Ugh. Yeah. Okay, that I didn't have the ending parentheses. That was my problem. Okay, so we want to go ahead and iterate through each of these, casting it as the thing that we're using, and then if it is English, then deeds lang equals en deed, else deeds lang equals, and then we do this thing. Which again, I don't think in the end is going to be necessary, but it is necessary today. So we're going to go ahead and take lang dot deed, first or default, that equals the English one. Great. And that we can use in place of this. So instead of initializing inline, we go ahead and initialize this deeds. Yeah, okay. That seems right. So it's one less place that we are looking for Russian. Let's see if it compiles. Well, it sure seems to. Okay, so what I'm going to do for the rest of the stream, and probably many hours after that, is go through and continue to strip out all these places where I was hard coding things, or in a place like this where it was actually reasonable. If we have an objective that we're trying to pick up in English that's obtaining an objective, it might make more sense to be able to format. Now this is a not a great way to do things because it does ignore grammar to some extent. If the German verb for what you're obtaining should change based off of something in that obtaining, we're just going. It's not going to be right. But my hope is that it's close enough that people understand what's going on. And same basic thing. So objective deeds here, there's a lot of, hey, we're trying to defeat 17 kobolds. We're trying to use the hammer 5 times. Where we can go ahead and say, okay, we can make a pass at getting this localized into other languages. So this file actually maybe has a bunch of reasonable uses of it, but it means every place where we have this, we're going to need a Spanish one as well. Otherwise, this is just going to I guess it will default to not terrible. Uh, Neat. Why do we have this lookup? Is it still in use? I don't know. But it's going to take a little looking to find out. Okay, great. Let's look at a few more things that maybe are in a different file. And see where we can consolidate things. Okay, we have LOTRO string, private dictionary, lang.lang.enum, string, strings, and that lets us kill those. So, setting the value, we should probably stop using that string there. So we're going to say lang.lang, and that's going to give us a compile error at all the sites. And then we can go ahead and say switch lang. Well, we can just say strings of lang equals value. Okay, and we'll just make some more changes. All right, setting value for each in dictionary. Oh, I see. Oh. Neat. Okay. That's not a function, it's a lookup table. Okay, so that we're getting something in a table that does have those things in DE whatnot. But we want to stop using them as soon as possible. Okay, here, we're getting our lengths. So the result is a dictionary. Okay. Really feels like we should just be able to iterate through better than what we did before. Okay. So we're checking to see if things are null or empty, but we don't have those anymore. So let's go ahead and do a simple swap here, just so we can see what's going on. So if that's null or empty, then the result for that language equals strings English.length. So let's go ahead and put that onto its own line so we can see this a little bit more easily. So we want it to look something like this. Oops. So for each var key in strings.keys, oh, right, we can do that. We are going to go ahead and say if not, string is nor empty, strings of key, then result of key equals process LOTRO string of strings of key dot length. So that's a generic version of what we're doing in here. Is that the same for all of these? Yeah. Gotta stop copy pasting code just because it's easier. Okay. So for each thing that is in our strings, which should be set with all of them, for each thing, if it's not there, is this a reasonable way to iterate through that? We do need the key. Can we just iterate through? And bouncing back and forth. Yeah, okay. So KVP key, KVP key. No, but the value is that. Is that nicer? It's probably more idiomatic. Okay, and which means we can delete all of that. And then we move on to the next one. So I'm gonna, like I said, try to finish up this file, and then that'll bring us to a close, and I'll go on our merry way. What's going on with em_exists? All right, var exists equals new dictionary of lang dot langenum, and then so for each, as will be in strings, we're going to go ahead and say exists of kvp.key equals, I don't need to retype this, if not string, it's not empty, kvp.value. Great. Is it just any? Feels like that should be simplifiable. But we're looking for any that is true, so we'll go ahead and do that. Can I convert that? Oh. Right. I'm looking for any where that is true. So, English. We don't really need to switch here. If lang equals lang dot langenum dot unknown, then we'll go ahead and do that. Otherwise, var en exists equals exists lang English. Return exists lang or en exists, and it'll just be the same value in the case of English. And the point of this logic is that English will be the fallback. If we have whatever this is that we're doing here in French, German, whatever, great, use it. Otherwise, better show the English than nothing. What are we doing? LOTRO string. Yeah, sure. All right, get value, string lang. Okay. Default string equals strings English or string empty. Yeah. So return strings of lang or default string. And that will do it. Again, if we have the string, we'll use it. Otherwise, we'll use the English if it's available. Otherwise, it's an empty string. Great. Why is this giving me grief? Fair. Okay, we have problems. Here are some of the problems. Talua. So, checking my loot says, good evening, good evening. Hello and welcome to so many errors in the preprocessor that we're trying to fix on the way to incorporating Spanish into deed tracker. Welcome. Okay, so we were iterating through, and if the thing didn't equal null, then we need to do stuff. Let's take one of these and break it apart. So we're getting a no. So we know that this en needs to be strings lang.lang enum.english. Okay. Check My Loot says, got a question for you. I'm relearning Lua after many years away from it because I want to try my hand at plugins. Do you have a link you can share to the full LOTRO API documents? Great question. So, first of all, there's a couple of versions floating around. The one I prefer to use is this downloadable one, which is titled SSG U25 Lua documentation. So if I head on over here and look for U25 documentation, I'm going to need to spell documentation correctly. Then we're going to see some tools for developers. When was the most recent update? Okay, looks like someone's doing a work in progress. This one, the official update 25 Lua documentation, this is, I'm pretty sure, the one that I have downloaded. We can see I'm looking at index.html. Let's go ahead and download this just to see what's up. And I'll paste a link here on the assumption that it is correct. Okay. Okay, great. Well, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. Wow, I just expected Explorer to deal with front slashes better. Just a moment. Oh no, it's because I was in index.html. Okay, great. So the one I have, icons, scripts, styles. The one that's in here, icon, script, styles. And we can see a timestamp. Apparently mine's older. No, this is 2019. Okay, mine's 2021. Looks pretty much the same though. So I think it's reasonable. Let's go ahead and let me go ahead and extract that while I'm at it. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and compare that. Looks good so far. A lot of files in here. Great. So yes, that is the one that I have. So that is a downloadable version. I really like it for a couple of reasons. For one, it's on my computer, so if LOTRO Wiki is having a problem, if LOTRO interface is having a problem, doesn't matter, I have it there. Also means I could make edits to it if I want quite easily. However, it is also true that LOTRO interface has a LOTRO API page somewhere. Nope. But recently it has not worked for me. I don't know if it's fixed now, but yeah, there we go. But when I go there now, the wiki just doesn't respond, and I suspect there's an underlying problem. I don't know, console? Nope. Okay. So that one was really nice for a while. I really liked how it handled enumerations better than the downloaded one, but it has been available for a little while. So that's the one I recommend just popping it into. I think you may have seen I flashed by real fast. I have my user folder / document / the Lord of the Rings online. I also have user / document / that documentation. So it just lives in my documents folder. And I have a shortcut to it, and it's great. So it's very old school HTML help file layout, but it works just fine. And since it's just a web page, you can open up multiple tabs, no worries. Cool. Checking my loot says, okay, thanks, got it. Now, there's an asterisk there. You asked for a full LOTRO API, and there are some things that are not fully explored in that document that's downloadable that are true, or at least true enough. I would encourage you, if you don't already have it, if you get the Visual Studio Code plugin extension for LOTRO API, you should. I would definitely recommend this because it's going to have references for some things that are very handy. For instance, let's. My goodness. Can I get in there? It'll have annotations for what types are returned from what functions, and it's just generally nice. I'm trying to think of an example. Set stretch mode. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So there's a function, set stretch mode, which has some very opaque interactions that can be difficult to get your head around. And so there's some very good documentation here that the community has noted, some of which was broken in the most recent attempt to offer scalability to plugins natively without plugins having to opt into it or giving them a way to opt out of it necessarily. But at the moment, this is all the best the community has to explain how set stretch mode works, as an example. And you'll not, in the downloaded documentation that we were just looking at, this is a function on um, control. So if we come over to control and look at the methods and search for stretch mode, you will find nothing. There's no anything there. And that's because set stretch mode was an undocumented function. It's a highly useful function, but you just kind of have to know it exists, according to this documentation. Check my loot says, I'm working on a stable route planner. I have the core working and running. I just need to add the stable master data. Is there a way to add that data that's quicker than going to each stable master and typing the data in? So, Delirium does say, are you familiar with LOTRO Companion? Checking my loots. LOTRO Companion is a standalone desktop application that is very useful and also puts out a lot of data files that are extracted from the clients. So if we come on over here to the LOTRO data, regularly puts out updates with data from the game, and if you put yourself against these data files and are extracting information from them, when they change, you'll get that for free. So if we come into travels.xml, as Tellurian is recommending, then we do have a bunch of locations. I don't know if these are stable masters, but let's see. Akkad Dunan. It would appear that Akkad Mirabel offers routes to Akkad Dunan. Akkad Dunan. I don't know what this one is, but yeah, location Akkad Mirabel should offer these. And if you go to that stable master and see, oh yes, that is what I'm looking at, then that's going to help out a lot. And if that's what you're looking for, where's my LOTRO data? Well, it's not there. Just a moment. Let me grab that from a different window. So it's over on github.com/LOTROcompanion/LOTRO-data. And so I recommend, hopefully you're already using source control, but just go ahead and check out that or clone that repository down, and then you'll be able to get those updates. And if you just write a script or whatever, that's what we're working on now, is this preprocessor that pulls that data together and munges it in a way that is good for DTracker. If you have something like that, then you can just rerun that each time after you update that. And if that really makes your life easier, I highly recommend checking out this or a yellowish button here in the upper right of LOTRO Companion, and that's completely optional. Julian says, if I read that file correctly, it has a list of all possible stable masters and their connections and possibly their animations routes. Awesome. Yeah, I spent very little time looking at that. So I can definitely believe that that's in here. And so, whatever your favorite tool of choice is, probably has an XML parser. If you're doing some really basic stuff, you could get by with regular expressions and whatnot. But I do recommend parsing it in as an XML file, and then you can just take advantage of the regularity of the schemas, etc. All right, destination Aguar. Tell me more. Aguar. Mode is horse. Oh, yeah, okay. Tellurian, I'm saying what you're saying. Delay is 3 seconds. All right. Travel Angmar Node Med Moot. Fascinating. Estelon going east. Oh, that's the slow travel. Ha, okay. That's neat. I have had the luxury of being a subscriber for as long as I've been playing uh, recently, and so the slow travel routes are just something that I know exist, but I'm just like, I don't do that. Cillian says, by all, I mean all even stable masters that are not always available and perhaps are not are no longer available. For instance, uh, the Rivendell stable masters before the revamp are probably in here. Good point, Tellurian. Check my loots. That'd be a great thing. At a certain point, you'll just want to add some of these IDs as don't include them in your scraper, right? You'll determine that. Oh, check my loot. Says sorry, I missed where in companion to find that XML. No worries. So, in LOTRO data, when you check this out, pretty much everything is going to be in lore, and then there's a couple important things. I have a tool that fixes this for me, but a lot of these files are localized. So if we go over to inlore, if we go to travels .xml, we okay, this one's fine. This one's fine. Yeah. Let's go to deeds.xml. In deeds.xml, we're gonna see that there's a bunch of keys like inventory item, something, progress override, something, and these are all strings referenced somewhere else. So you're gonna find those in your labels directory. There's a language code for each language supported, so we come in here and we go into deeds, and then we can find what on earth this key is by looking up the key over here. Oh, Lore of the Blade, page 5. Great. That is fantastic from a programming perspective, but makes just looking through this file incredibly frustrating. And so I just have a tool that munges it all back together, and so we can come on in here and see, lore info. This page has whatever. Lore of the Blade, page 5. So your mileage may vary. It may not even be necessary for the travel stuff, but just be aware if you see keys instead of strings, you're going to be looking in the labels directories for all of that. And then if there are data types, like my focus is deeds, so there are deed categories where code 7 is something. And again, deed category. Code 7 is Brelands. Code 12 is Avendim. Code 17 is Moria. So you're looking for things with the keyword travel. And specifically, you're looking for travel.xml in lore and whatever else might have the word travel in it, maybe. And if you see things that you don't understand what they are, like, there's a route action ID here, you can always go ahead and just do a recursive search to say, okay, where else does that show up? Maybe it's only in travels, maybe it's other places. Nope, it's just in travels. Great. And yeah, these IDs are going to be linking disparate things across a single file or multiple files. So same thing. What's up with this Oat Barton? Oh, okay. Travels web. There's a labels. So be aware that there's going to be some information about travels in there. Cool. And that's it. So that ID is just a Sable Master looking thing. Antilian has clarified that lore is in the LOTRO data zip file, and the LOTRO data is a subfolder of LOTRO Companion. Well, for me, it is a checkout of the repository, so there's no zip file involved, but absolutely, if you just download the stuff, it'll be in there. Cool. Great question. I hope that helps. That Figuring out that file structure may take a while, but it's almost certainly faster than going to the stable masters one time. And given that the stable masters keep changing over time, it's well worth the investment to go ahead and just, as long as LOTRO Companion is doing their thing, and the more people who use that yellow button, hopefully the longer they do, um, the easier it is for all of us who are just like, go grab that information, refresh the tool. That's what this tool is all about, is grabbing that information. And as soon as I fix it, so it doesn't assume there's only 4 languages, we'll be able to do that automatically for Spanish as well. And that was my bad. I mean, really, it was just like, I have this for English. And then I was like, oh, I should support French and German. So it was so much easier just to do some copy pasting when I should not have. As we're seeing right now, it lots of follow-on effects if you change function signatures and that sort of thing. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and finish up this function at least. Check my loots. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'm going to be here for a couple more minutes, and then I'm back most Tuesdays this time of day. I think I start 11:30 server time. I'd have to double check. Maybe it's 1:30. I think maybe Little Redhead starts at 11:30. So about 1:30 server time to about 3:30 server time, which we're about 20 minutes past, but that's fine. Allah in chat says, heart symbol, hello and welcome to us working on Deed Tracker plugin in Lord of the Rings Online, which is in the background there somewhere. All right, so we have a language. So we are looking for the strings value for lang is not null. If it's not null, otherwise we're returning a blank. Yeah, all right. So we're going to process the value there. So this is also lang. Now, process LOTRO string, does that not deal with null strings? Boy, it does not. It's definitely going to assume. Feels like if text equals null, return empty. Oh, man. My head is in Lua. Okay, so if we're given a null string, let's just not worry about it. So we can get rid of the null check because we're going to get an empty string then. Oh, but we want a fully empty string, didn't we? Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we should still probably not crash this function, but we'll not worry about that right now. Okay, so I think it might be easier. Var result equals empty string if strings lang so if we have a string worth working with, then result equals, okay, so we want to grab this value. So we need the to code for lang. We can do that. So lang.to code. Check my loot says, thanks. I'll probably rewrite my fetch to use the travels XML data. Shouldn't be too hard, I hope. Well, if you already have something existing, you go Bree to Shire and something that they both connect to as well, or something like that, right? If you have a little web that you have already populated with what you think should be there, then you can write a tool for this and compare its output, and that will give you a lot of confidence that either it caught something that you didn't realize, so it's making it better, or it's not working in some way, and you can go back and fix that. So whatever descriptions you already have for that data, that's very useful to test if the new one is at least as good as that. Alalina says, how long have you been working on LOTRO? Well, full disclosure, I do not work for Standing Stone Games, and I do not work on the game itself. I am working on one of the plugins, in this case, a deed tracker, and plugins are little bits, little mini programs that you can run within the game. A lot of games will support them under the name of plugin or add-on or module or extension. And in LOTRO, this is one of them. It is a companion to the in-game deed log. Whoops, want to be out here. The deed log has an infuriating, to me, feature where it sorts all your deeds first by category and then alphabetically, which is a problem when alphabetical order doesn't actually give you a sense of how the deeds are related. So for instance, in Breland, in order to complete deeds of Breland, you have to complete Explorer of Breland, and you have to complete these 6 deeds to do that. And if you were to consult the deed log in game, you don't get a sense of that connectivity between the deeds in the same way. Also, it won't show you deeds that you haven't started or hidden deeds, so-called hidden deeds, whereas the deed tracker will. So that's cool. But I do not work on the game itself, and I have no inside knowledge from Standing Stone Games about what's happening with the game. So I just wanted to set that straight. Alana says, looks cool. Well, thank you very much. Today we've been buried with the preprocessor, which is outside of the game entirely. Alina says, you know what I hope gets fixed one day? Cosmetic pets sticking to you well indoors. Yeah, I don't get that very often. When you experience that, if you unsummon and resummon that same cosmetic pet, does it help you at all? I get inconsistent results where sometimes mine is just like stuck at the door, and sometimes it will follow me around. But it's worth trying if you are going to be spending a fair amount of time inside. Okay, so it is fixing it for you. Yeah, no, I totally get it. Actually, a different indoor problem, but my bugbear is that for whatever reason, the configuration of my client is such that pretty much every time I zone in or out of a dungeon instance style space, even a cave, the scaling for my party member, fellowship member green circles will be off, so that the green circles will shoot off the radar or they won't be visible, and I'll have to come in and filter clear all, select all, which will fix the problem until the next time I zone into a different area. So I appreciate it is fixable, but at the same time, because there's such an easy workaround, filter, clear all, select all, or more specifically, you could go into your fellowship member and turn that off and on. It's such an easy workaround. I don't know if that's actually encouraging them to work on other things that don't have an easy workaround or what. But people at SSG know that some people experience that problem, and it's like, I experience it frequently if that's of any help. But I don't spend a lot of time with cosmetic pets indoors, so I don't see that as much. But I did see it a fair amount during Midsummer, because there were a lot of people doing questing on Furtherhome, and many of them have pets. So sorry I can't help you with that more specifically, but yeah, you are not alone. Okay, so we have a switch statement that is mimicking this, and when we have our result, we're going to go ahead and return it. Can't forget about that. So, have we correctly captured this, though? We are going to go ahead and get that language code equals that. We're going to go ahead and process this. We're doing a lot of effort here. Why are we doing it inline? Var process equals. And we're going to go ahead and get that. And then what are we padding right here? This whole thing? Var padded equals. No. Var initial line equals that. And then padded line equals initial line dot pad right of width. That's fine. So we're going to break this apart. But the idea is that for a given language code, we're going to go ahead and call process on it, on the string itself. So that's strings lang, great. Then we're going to go ahead and pad right on the width that we've been called, which I think is the maximum width of any of them. And that'll make for a nice line. And then we have the result equals, at that point, padded line. So we're going to go ahead and do that, make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on. So we have a process string, which we turn into a line, which we pad out. And we return that, which means this is no longer necessary. Probably. All right. Do we think there's anything else? There's one more section in this file, to raw string. Same thing, we're going to return a thing. And we want to return either something or nothing. So our result equals blank if string is null or empty not of strings lang. If it's not, then result equals something. Return result. And what does it equal? This. But that's got to be strings lang. Okay. So if it's null, we want an empty string. If it's empty, we'll take an empty string as well. Will we? Is that a subtle change? It is a subtle change. What would happen if this was? We're doing a bunch of replaces. Empty string is just going to be an empty string. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that looks great. Okay, so in this file, we might be done. But of course, we were changing function signatures. So now we need to go up to each of those call points and change those. Okay, well, I'm going to keep working on that in the background, but it's time for dinner, well past time for dinner. So I think that's going to be a good breaking point. Let's see. All right. Well, for everyone who was commenting in chat, thanks so much for joining me and asking your questions. Alalina, good to have you here. Check my loots. Good luck with data harvesting the stable master roots. I think if you aren't already doing it, I would love a timer that shows how long it's expected until I arrive. And of course, the trick for a slow route, for doing it slow, that's a lot of time just spent timing how long these things are. But even just for the long ones, like if you take a ride out of Tinnander in Avendum, it's like a 30-second runtime before you cross the bridge and finally zone out. So I'd love to have just a little pop-up that's like, you got 70 seconds if you need to go get a drink of water. If you're doing slow travel, it's like, okay, you got a 4-minute trip, great time for a bio break. So I don't know if that's something you had in mind, Check My Loose, but that is something I've had a thought of is, tell me how long this travel is going to take. Plus, like, it doesn't have to be accurate down to the second, but plus or minus 10 seconds. What are we looking at here? Oh, good. Check My Loot says, yeah, it calculates the route time and has a fast or cheap button, so you can choose faster or cheaper travel. Oh, that's beautiful. Awesome. Well, that's everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you all here next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.